This was just for Tony. This is Rob Page, 14 years in the business.
Old fucking man over here. Fuck.
We get the ugly Rob Page. We're getting ugly Rob Page out of the way while Matt Cage gets all pretty and ready to go.
That's right. Somebody has to look fucking pretty here. Not me.
Yeah. You know, he's got a face for radio, so it's perfect.
I got a perfect radio face. Horrible radio voice.
And I think that's all we're going to do with Rob Page. 14 years in the business, just decided to come over here and be ugly on a podcast.
Yeah, he's a fucking shitbagger. Don't book him anywhere.
Let me get this yawn out.
Yeah, let it roll.
All right, well, this is the Fully Loaded Podcast, episode 4. So if this is the Four Horsemen, this would be Arn Anderson, because this one's a really good one.
Yeah, I got Matt Cage on the podcast. Great guy, great worker.
This isn't a Steve Mongo McMichaels of the Four Horsemen. This is a good one.
Still, poor Steve.
Well, just to cap off, we had the interview with Matt Cage before our event Saturday, April 16th in Detroit Lakes, which was ended up being a house of fire. So you'll hear us talking, and in the background you'll start to see people or hear people piling in because he got there a little late, so we had to record it like seconds before the doors open, and then as the doors open, we were finishing up. So
Yeah, it all worked out all right, though. Hell of a weekend, Fargo, Detroit Lakes. Thanks to everybody that came out for that.
And of course, this podcast is brought to you by Mob Run Productions and Sound. You can reach them on Facebook or Gmail. You can send them a email if you want to. If you're in the area, you can rent equipment. The Minot area, that is. You can rent equipment from him, sound equipment. And if you're a wrestler, or if you're just looking for video editing or music editing, or I think you do custom music, custom entrance music.
Yeah, working on some stuff for a guy now. MobRunPro.com. That's our official website. Go check that out. Also, if you're an in-ring worker, fighter of any kind, MMA, boxer, wrestler, whatever, get a hold of us. We do t-shirt collaborations with a pretty damn good payout deal.
But not dogfighting.
Well, dogs don't usually have gimmicks they can sell on a t-shirt. Usually.
It's true. I was just, wanted to clarify. You said fighters of all kinds.
Maybe we could work something out that way, though. Cockfighting, too, may as well.
Speaking of cockfighting,
Dear God.
the Matt Cage had one of your shirts. The Pecker.
Yeah, free pecker.
Free the Pecker.
Did pretty well on that one. Would have liked to see more, but,
We'd always like
It
to
was
see
new.
more. But, yeah, hey, if you're a wrestler looking to make some money, hit up Mob Run.
Oh, sorry. At the time of this recording, we just started off the Christian Rose t-shirt project as well. So go check that out.
It's a pretty sweet shirt.
Yeah, check it out. You'll find the link on Twitter, Facebook, teespring.com/Christian Rose T. Good stuff.
And then also we'd like to shout out to Suplex City Limits for letting us be on their channel. They have a weekly podcast where they crap on Roman Reigns and talk about how great Lucha Underground is. And so much more.
No, that's about it.
It's true. They talk about wrestling news. Very entertaining, and they just keep climbing up the charts for their podcast. Thousands and thousands of listeners worldwide. I think the other day he said it's funny to look at the number of people who listen and know that at any minute during the day, someone's listening to his voice.
Yeah, that must be quite the sensation. Too bad we don't know what that feels like.
I think we do. I think we're climbing up the charts too on their channel. I think we're like, they have like 58 episodes. I think we're like, our 3 that are up there are like easily in the top 40. So.
Oh, that's neat. Cool. All right.
Neat.
Yeah, we did that.
Speaking of neat, we're going to pass this off to the interview that I had with the one and the only Matt Cage, and then we'll be able to come back here and wrap it up nicely for ya.
Ugh.
Ready?
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, this is the Fully Loaded Podcast interview section brought to you by Mob Run Productions and Sound. I'm with Matt Money Cage.
Greetings.
You had a very specific way you wanted to start this podcast because you hate certain questions.
Hello, my name is Matt Money Cage, and I was trained in Atlanta, Georgia by Mr. Hughes at the WWA4 wrestling facility, and you can't get trained by Mr. Hughes anymore because he just stopped training people as of a week ago. I have been wrestling since June 15th, 2007, and my best opponent is most likely Christian Rose. Those are the generic questions that I usually get asked.
Shout out to Hughes, though. I mean, the guy's retiring, I guess. I know the Hooligans are close to him, and he's trained a lot of who's who.
He has trained a lot of who's who. Me.
Who else?
The Hooligans. Apollo Crews.
Oh, really?
It comes to mind because he has just debuted on Raw, so it's a fresh. But also, someone who's been on Raw for the better part of the last decade. No one realizes was trained by Hughes. Heath Slater.
Really?
He's pretty much the bulk of the talent that he has trained has gone on to some form of success, and to me that's awesome. I very, very sad when I read that he was going to be done training, because he has done a lot for pro wrestling. So,
well, shout out to him. I wouldn't expect that, but all right. We had some questions on Facebook, and one of them was dream tag partner. Anybody in the world you could tag with, in a Fed, in Japan, wherever.
Christian.
Gotcha.
Not Rose.
No, see, that's the thing.
God forbid that I ever get to team with someone that's not Tom. But yes, Christian, who is, in my opinion, one of the most underrated wrestling stars of all time.
You're not just saying that to get over with the other owner, Aaron? That's like
No.
one of his favorite wrestlers.
Oh,
of all
I
time.
did. Well, we will be talking shop later. We're gonna crack open a couple of drinks and talk Christian.
See,
He is one of the best ever.
I wasn't a big fan of his until he went to TNA and he got to be like a true single star.
That's unfortunate.
See, I liked him in tag. I just meant like singles-wise, I wasn't a big fan.
You mean you weren't a fan of Christian's run in 04, 05, which is when he truly started to get over, which led to his singles run in TNA?
No, I don't
He
know what
was
to tell you.
so
I just
good
wasn't a big fan
when
until I saw
when
him
he
in
became
TNA.
Captain Charisma.
I felt like when he debuted in TNA, it was a huge deal. And WWE never really let him feel like a big deal to me. And then TNA did, and then he took that back to the Fed. And
His overness in 05 is what caused his debut in TNA to be such a big deal, because he was like, there's always someone in WWE or any promotion for that matter, like it could be Fully Loaded, of someone that's just like so talented and so good and is getting over. The crowd is responding, and the crowd wants them. They wants this person to be their guy, and the powers that be will not push them.
yeah.
2005 Christian is that guy for me.
Maybe the reason is I fell out of wrestling from like 04 to 05. That was my junior and senior year of high school.
Okay.
So I was out trying to, get girlfriends and do all that kind of stuff. Unsuccessfully, I might add. But wrestling wasn't cool then, so.
I don't know. I've just always been a fan of Christian, even when he was in a tag team with Edge and Christian or Jericho and Christian.
Is that why you
Christian
went
and
Matt
anyone.
Cage? Christian
No,
Cage?
actually, that actually is not the case. Cage I chose because, well, when you're born, you don't get to choose your last name.
Well, that's a good point. All right, that's a good
Actually,
point.
I'm totally kidding. No, I actually was a huge fan of, this is a dated reference. When I first got the video game Warzone in 1998, it was the very first wrestling game that had Create a Wrestler mode. And, of course, I had to create my own wrestler, and I had to choose a name, and for whatever reason, the name that came to mind included the last name of one of my favorite video game characters, Johnny Cage, from Mortal Kombat. So then, Matt Cage became a thing. And then I got like the internet, and then it came time to like choose usernames and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So like it was like always something with Cage involved. And then people just like knew me as Matt Cage. And then when I started wrestling, I was like, well, I might as well just stick with this, because it just kind of is a thing now.
Yeah.
So that's why I did that. So for anyone that's ever wondered why I have such a generic ring name,
It's not that it rolls off the tongue, though. I got to ask, because you usually start every promo with, let me talk to you. Was that a conscious effort to have a catchphrase, or was it just something you said, and then you just kept doing it?
So I totally ripped that off from someone as a joke. And it's funny because the people that are sitting directly in front of us as we record this podcast right now, they would
Jack
be...
Manley, Remy Marcel, Swade Thompson, Big
Yes,
Dude.
my BWS crew.
And Jacob Austin Young's around here somewhere.
Yes, he's actually right in front of Swade.
Behind him,
or
yeah.
No, he's... Yes,
Swade's
he is.
blocking him.
Yes.
All 190 pounds. He wanted me to get that in. He
Bulk
weighs
Hogan,
190,
brother.
yep.
Bulk Hogan. Anyway, there's this dude on the West Coast. I won't put him over here because we don't need to do that. But anyway, yeah, he always let me talk to you, and I was like, I mean, he's not doing this anywhere else except for like this one 2 promotions here, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna get it over. And so I totally just ganked it from him because
All right,
you know,
then.
why not?
Like most things, they're taken from somewhere else.
Absolutely. And I never actually planned on like doing it more than like once or twice, honestly. But it did get over, and now I'm stuck with it.
So you've had a pretty red hot last about 4 months. Why do you think you've been just like? Is it that you've come in as a performer as the best you've ever been, or is it also a mix of you're finally getting in there with guys who you can do all this stuff with? Because we talked about this. You've like you said, the last 4 months you've had some of the best matches of your life. In Funky Monkey, you and Bucky tore it down. You've done it here with Darren Corbin and Swade Thompson.
Yes. I've always had confidence in my capabilities. And I've always felt that at any point in my career I would be able to like tear it up with whomever I step in the ring with. Obviously, if you compare, someone who's been in for almost 10 years, 9 years in, 10 years in to their work when they were 2 years in,
Yeah.
obviously the quality will be better. Well, usually, in theory, it should be better. But I think it's just a matter of like knowledge, like knowing things that work, knowing what works, what doesn't work, knowing how to interact with the crowd and maximize crowd interaction, get the crowd hot and into your match, and timing, pacing, execution, like things like that. It matters so much. It's not just the moves that you're doing. It's
Yeah,
when,
it's not just-
where, how you're doing them, why.
Psychology, baby.
Absolutely. And so like in recent months, I don't know. I've been feeling it, I guess. I never want to be the forgotten about match on the show. I always want to be the match that when people
Yeah.
go home, they are, hey, this is the match that I liked. It was Cage and whomever. This was match of the night, stuff like that.
You get that a lot now.
I try really hard. And one of the things, like, we'll use here at Fully Loaded as an example, like, there was never a conversation where I sat down with the promoters and said, hey, so I want to be, like, the guy that steals the show here type of thing. Like, you gave me matches, and I was like, okay, let's do it.
And to your credit, you've always killed it.
I've tried to. Thank you very much.
I mean, you can see like his match with Darren Corbin. I think it's episode 21 of Fully Loaded Wrestling, maybe like 22, somewhere in that range. And then the episode 31 with Scott Story. As a matter of fact, I just recommended that to one of my friends today. She just subscribed, and she's like, what's a match that would be really good for me to watch to get into it? And I said immediately, I was like, episode 31, 27 minutes in, Matt Cage versus Scott Story is a tremendous match, and it really is.
Thank you. And that was our first match that we have had. And I really, really enjoyed it. I greatly enjoyed it. That whole weekend, in-ring wise, was some of my favorite stuff. And one of the humbling compliments for me is at any point if someone has told me, thank you very much, that was my best match ever.
Yeah.
And there was a 2-week period where it was me and Scott Story, me and Swade Thompson, and then the following week at Funky Monkey Wrestling against Bucky, where all three of
Fantastic
them
match.
said, thank you very much, that was my best match ever. So it's like, you're also only as good as your dance partner.
Yeah.
And, like if we don't click, if we don't mesh, it's not going to be good or great or whatever. And it's just very humbling. It's this. Sometimes I don't know how to respond. A lot of times I don't know how to respond to that. Because I'm the same as anyone else. I'm just a guy in spandex trying to entertain the fans, and
This wonderful sport.
it's an amazing
Sport of
thing.
kings.
It is the best form of entertainment I feel that we have on Earth, and as a performer, it's amazing and awesome and humbling to get the instantaneous gratification where if we put together a match and then we execute it in the ring, and then as it's happening, we look in the crowd and we see that the crowd is giving us the emotion that we want out of them at that exact point. There's nothing better than that. You can be a movie
Yeah.
star, but you don't get to see
It's like live
you don't get
theater.
to see that reaction from them.
You know.
You just have to assume that people enjoy what you're
Probably how
putting
Broadway
on.
actors feel. They get to actually
Yes,
see
that's
the
actually
reaction.
a very good way to put it.
I was going to ask you, who's a guy that probably not a lot of indie fans, who I guess a lot of guys who listen to this are indie fans, other than Bucky, because I guarantee that was the first name that popped into your head. Other than Bucky, who's a guy that maybe people don't know about that you think more people should know about?
Well,
And
obviously,
all due respect to everyone else he doesn't name.
obviously, aforementioned Bucky Collins,
Yeah.
Buck Nasty. But besides Bucky, honestly, the first that come to mind at this exact moment are kids that I think just have an amazing future in wrestling that I would love to just break out. That I think have that potential. In no particular order, Connor Braxton, J.J. Garrett, and Paco Gonzalez. I think that they are just unbelievably talented. I can't praise them enough. I trained Garrett. I have been a mentor to Braxton since before he started training. And he trained with Seth Rollins at Black and the Brave Wrestling Academy. And also, Paco was trained by Michael Elgin, and I've been kind of a mentor to him as well. And I just think the world of those three. I think they have so much talent and potential, and the sky's the limit for them. And I think that at this exact point in their careers, kind of the developing beginning stages of their careers, it would be amazing for people to have eyes on them so that they could watch them continue to grow over the next 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years.
I'm a fan of J.J. Garrett's that gimmick he has, that character he has.
It's excellent. The swag gimmick, yeah.
Swagamania.
It's one of those things that when I met Garrett, and I don't count this as insulting, he would be the first one to agree with me. He was terrible. Like he had all of the talent, he just didn't know how to tap into it. He could not spell charisma, let alone show any in the ring, out of the ring at any point. And once he like broke into that character, he truly started to shine. And now he's at a point where as far as that character is concerned, he really can do no wrong.
Yeah.
Because it's just whatever he wants it to be. And it works for him. Same with Braxton. He started doing the hoverboard thing, and it just got over. I remember him asking me.
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of him. I haven't seen a lot, but I've seen a little bit.
Hopefully you get to see more.
Yeah.
Like, I remember him asking me, like, hey, what do you think I should do this hoverboard thing? Like, I was like, why not? What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
Try it once or twice. If it doesn't work, then okay. That's 2 times
That's a
that
good
you
point,
tried it,
you know?
Like, just throw it at a wall, see if it sticks. And it blew up. He went viral, and, now he's got something that works for him. And the shelf life is obviously not eternal, but for the time being,
It gets eyes on him.
exactly. It allows him to stand out on a card where he could just be another guy, and he's not. He has something that helps him stand out now. And that's, awesome.
So, just to switch gears to talk about you. Imagine that, a podcast with you on it. We're going to talk about you.
Shucks.
Do you take pride in the fact that a lot of people say you're the best striker, one of the best strikers in the Indies? And I'd put you up there with, like, some of the very best. And I've told you that before. I'd put you up there with guys like, Tommy End and Timothy Thatcher, who are, like, they'll hit you as hard as, a ton of bricks, but you're right there with them.
Yes and no. Because style is only so much, and I'm sorry, I was distracted. I thought that Stephen King was about to powerbomb someone just on the floor. This is not during the show. Anyway,
Right on the concrete. He should have done it. That'd have been cool.
I feel that the thing that gets me is when people that I strongly value their opinion, veterans of the game and things like that, guys who have been around or been to the dance and stuff like that, when they compliment my strikes, specifically my punch, because I worked really hard on my punch.
So good.
I worked really, really hard on my punch, and or punches in general, and for people that I truly respect. Like Bobby Eaton told me that I had an amazing work punch, kid.
Nice.
And I was like, you have one of the best work punches of all time, sir.
Yeah.
So for him to tell that to me was amazing.
Like,
But the style, like being praised as one of the best strikers, is cool. But
you don't want to get pigeonholed?
it's not even so much exactly like it isn't so much that, but because I feel like I can work pretty much any style.
Yeah.
You know, I can grapple, I can brawl, I can fly. I'm not the best at it, but I can. You know, I could do hardcore stuff if necessary. I've been in death matches before. No one knows this, but I have. Done
I do.
Them. You have.
I saw a promo of you with like the hooligans talking about a death match.
Yep. I have done several death matches, but you know, I've had death matches with Ian Rotten, and several other people. But you know, I just want to try and be as well-rounded as I possibly can be. Even though I am primarily a striker.
Yeah. Take this time to thank Suplex City Limits for having us on their podcast channel, and a great sponsor. I'm going to finish out this podcast. We got a couple minutes here. I want to ask you what it's like to get to work with these Las Vegas guys again, because I know you spent some time in Las Vegas. You bill yourself as from Las Vegas.
Yes, that is where I grew up.
Yep. What's it like to get to finally like work with these guys again? Probably guys you didn't think you'd get to work with a lot again. And just to be clear on who those guys are, you can give them a shout out. You know, I think we talked about it a little bit earlier.
BWS crew, Swade Thompson, the Whirlwind Gentleman, Remy Marcel, and Jack Manley, and Jacob Austin Young. We didn't train together, is the thing. Like, we didn't break in together. We actually didn't meet until several years into our respective careers. But when we did meet, we just clicked. We hit it off instantly. I actually posted online last night. The best things in life are the things that happen organically, and there wasn't a point where any of us were like, oh, we want to be friends with this person. It just happened, and like the bond was like so strong, and I don't know why. I can't explain it, but that's just the way that it is. And whenever we see each other, like we all light up, and it's just like, you know, like it's just bliss. I've had the opportunity to wrestle Jake several times. The first time that I got to perform in Vegas in front of my family and friends was actually against him. It was several years in. Like,
so we're about several years later, and
yeah.
here we are again.
And now we get to wrestle again. I have never stepped in the ring with the Gentleman until last night, and it was awesome.
It was awesome.
I hope that we get the opportunity to do it again somewhere at some point. I think they're two of the most charismatic human beings, not just wrestlers, just human beings ever. And the same could be said for Swade. Like, our match that we had last month for the No Limits title, one of my favorites that I've ever had, and definitely one of my favorites that I had here at Fully Loaded specifically.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm sure it will, but I don't know when it's going to hit YouTube. But it's definitely one to check out.
That'll probably be I think it's like episode 34 or 35. Just subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch all of it,
Absolutely.
And eventually you'll see this amazing match.
Absolutely.
You know, well, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I'm getting the wrap-up signal. We're like 12 minutes from when the doors are going to open to our next show here at Turmoil. So I'd like to
Which should be the biggest crowd, right, is what I've been told. Last night was the biggest crowd to date, but tonight is, I've been told, has sold more pre-sales than last night. So
let's hope so. It keeps growing.
Fingers crossed.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Money.
Thank you very much for having me. To part, before I hop off here and throw these headphones down, for anyone that is listening to this, support indie wrestling, support Fully Loaded Wrestling, because these are the grassroots. This is where the stars of tomorrow are born, and this is where the stars of today are taking place and wrestling and killing it and entertaining you, the fans. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening to this. And thank you, Fully Loaded Wrestling, for having me and having me be one of the helping hands in your developing stages, because right now I think Fully Loaded is building and branding something very, very special that cannot be found anywhere else in the country.
Well,
it's a very, very diverse and excellent roster that cannot be found anywhere except for here. And you guys are doing something very, very special, and I'm very happy to be a part of it here in at the ground floor.
All right, well, thank you very much. Again, shout out to Mob Run Productions and Sound and Suplex City Limits channel. Thank you. Hey,
Thank you.
that was fun.
Put money on it.
All right.
All right, well, that was a very enjoyable interview with Matt Cage. Great guy. He basically spent the entire time talking about other people than himself because he just loves independent wrestling, loves the people he works with, and wants to push them.
Yeah, he's awesome that way. Also, after we're done blabbing here about all this stuff, check out the little bit we did with Rob Page, waiting for Matt Cage. It'll be at the end of the podcast. You can just quick little snippet.
Oh, we're not going to start it with it? We
Nah.
should start it with it. 5-star podcast. We're not even going to edit this part out. Let's put that at the beginning. And everyone will be like, what?
All right, everyone will be confused. I said the end. Jared said the beginning, so it's going to be at the beginning and the end.
All right, cool.
Because why the hell not, right?
That's a fair assessment. Shout out to Mr. 14 years in the business, Rob Page. Again, thanks to Mob Run Productions and Sound. Hit them up on Facebook and Twitter. Shout out to Suplex City Limits Podcast, their awesome channel. Shout out to Spot Monkey Media, one of our awesome sponsors, and so much more. Hey, if you want to sponsor this podcast, you can reach us at FullyLoadedWrestling@gmail or on Facebook or on Twitter, F_L_Wrestling, because Fully Loaded Wrestling was too long of a name for Twitter, and I had to come up with something, and that's what I came up with.
Yeah, well, it kind of sort of works, I guess. At Mob Run Pro, capitalize your pronouns, guys.
Speaking of works, our YouTube channel works wonderfully.
It functions. YouTube does a good job. They do things.
You can click subscribe. There's 32 episodes there currently. Maybe when this comes up, there'll be more, probably more. You can see everything from Matt Cage versus Scott Story, Darren Corbin versus Mr. Incredible in a Falls Count Anywhere match, Darren Corbin versus Mr. Incredible in a triple threat, Darren Corbin versus Mr. Incredible in a street fight. Those guys have
Yep.
gone around and around and around.
In the not too distant future, you're going to see an amazing match from our last event here in Detroit Lakes between Matt Cage and Jacob Austin Young, and holy shit, was that good. Also, the night before that, Friday night, Jacob Austin Young versus Christian Rose was amazing.
Shout out to Jacob Austin Young. Shout out to North Star Express for defending their WrestlePalooza tag titles successfully both nights of Turmoil. Thank you so much to First Wrestling and WrestlePalooza and our third guest on this podcast, the Fully Loaded podcast, Eric Cannon, for letting us do that. And I think I should about wrap this up.
Yep, sounds good. Just keep an eye out for Full Loaded TV on YouTube, and make sure you get all of that.
Click subscribe, grab a friend, tell him to click subscribe, grab an enemy, tell him to click subscribe, threaten people if you have to. Click subscribe on our YouTube channel. And thank you so much. Thanks to Suplex City Limits. Bye.
Hey, bye-bye.
Pally.